are drying on the floor. A box of photos leaning by the door. The radiator hums a heavy note. A loose thread hangs from your winter coat. The sky is draining all its gray away. I watched the birds decide they wouldn't stay. The calendar is stuck on Tuesday night. Before the shadows took the morning light. I tried to call your name into the air, but walls are stripped and nothing's left to share. The dust has settled on the piano bench. A thirst that water cannot ever quench. It is not a tragedy if no one sees the play. It's just the silence taking up space you threw away. The salt is in the carpet and the rust is in the gate. I'm learning how to carry all this hollow weight. Everything we built is cool and lasts, waiting for the seasons and the heavy rain to pass. I walked a mile just to see the pavement end, to find a broken logic I could not bend. The mailbox has been empty many days, with nowhere left for all these thoughts to stay. Maybe the wind just moves the blame around across the fields where no trace of you is found. Just a way to navigate the corners of the dark. It is not a tragedy if no one sees the play. It's just the silence taking up space and threw away. The salt is in the carpet and the rest is in the gate. I'm learning how to carry all this hollow weight. Everything we built is cool and lasts, waiting for the seasons and a heavy rain pass. It is not a tragedy if no one sees the play. It's just the silence taking up stakes you threw away. The salt is in the carpet and the rust is in the gate. I'm learning how to carry all this hollow weight. Everything we built is cooling grass, praying for the seasons and the heavy rain to pass. The dust settled on the heavy wooden chair. I was tracing shadows moving through the air. The maps were folded and the compass was a lie. A weary traveler under a charcoal sky. But you walked in like a morning sharp and cold, telling truths that the ancients never told. The heavy curtains were torn from the rails. I saw the mountain beyond the iron bell. You didn't offer a hand or a silver coin, just a place where the earth and the heavens join. You enlightened me with the flicker of a match, lifting the heavy iron bolts from the latch. Not a Holy Ghost or a spirit in the dark, just a steady hand striking on a spark. Now the road ahead is right and brutally clear. I'm shedding the skin of 1,000 years. The old books were rotting on the basement shelf. I was sad. And your kingdom built upon a shifting strand. Then you spoke a word that shattered the glass. Watching the funeral of the illusions pass. The heavy curtains were torn from the rail. I saw the mountain beyond the iron veil. You didn't offer a hand or a silver cane, just a place where the earth ran the heavens showing. You enlightened me with the flicker of the match. Lifting the heavy iron bolt from the latch. Not a Holy Ghost or a speed in the dark, just a steady hand striking on a spark. Now the road at end is white and brutally clear. I'm shedding the skin of 1,000 years. They say the blind will eventually find their way through the mud and the grit of a common day. But I was anchored to a pier that didn't exist, drowning in a thick and a velvet mist, until you pointed to the northern star. Showed me exactly who we really are. You enlightened me with the flicker of an axe. Lifting the heavy iron bolt from the latch. Not a holy most or a spirit in the dark, just a steady hand striking on a spark. Now the road ahead is wide and brutally clear. I'm shedding the skin of 1,000 years. You enlightened me with the flicker of a match. Lifting the heavy iron bolt from the latch. Not a holy ghost or a spirit in the dark, just a steady hand striking on a spark. Now the road ahead is wide and brutally clear. I'm shedding the skin of 1,000 years. You wore in the attic still. The cedar scent remains within the cooling chill. You showed me how to mend the fence until the land, and find the honest pride that comes from working hands. But no one showed me how to fill this empty space, or fix the broken clock that time has left in place. I see your face each morning when I start to wake. The same strong door and every small mistake. I caught a flash of silver from a passing car, and wondered if you journeyed very fast and far. The letters in the drawer are fading into white, beneath the dim and lonely bulb of night. The dust has settled on the porch where you would sit. The empty chairs, a shape I cannot just forget. I search for traces in the polish wooden grain, and try to find the pathway back home once again. The sky is vast and heavy with the silent gray. Since the afternoon you turned and walked away. I still expect to hear your key turn in the lock, to feel the earth floor tremble from your steady walk. But shadows are the only guests who come to stay, while memories like autumn leaves just blow away. I caught a flash of silver from a passing car, and wondered if you journeyed very fast and far. The letters in the drawer are fading into white, beneath the dim and lonely bulb of night. The dust has settled on the porch where you would sit. The empty carriage shape I cannot just forget. I search for traces in the polished wooden grain, and try to find a pathway back home once again. The sky is vast and heavy with the silent gray. Since the afternoon you turned and walked away. The dust settles on the windowsill of our first flat, where the morning light hits the faded map. You were tracing a line to a town we never found, just listening to the kettle make its lonely sound. Your old sweater has a hole where the button fell, a small loose thread with a story to tell. We walked through the park when the grass turned brown, watching the heavy clouds pull their curtains down. You didn't say much, just held on to my hand, like a secret only the two of us could understand. The iron gates creaked as the day slipped away in the quiet hollow of a Saturday. It is not a fire and it is not a flood, just a steady pulse moving through the blood, a slow wheel turning in the back of the mind, leaving the jagged edges far behind. It is the way you stand when the wind gets cold, a simple truth that never grows old. Not a mountain peak or a deep blue sea, just the space you leave in the house for me, a gentle heavy weight that settles in the chest, the kind of peace that puts the ghost to rest. I found a penny in the pocket of your winter coat, and a scrap of paper where you wrote a note about the groceries and the things we lack, while the suitcase waited in the hallway packed. But you stayed to watch the sparrows on the wire instead of lighting a brand new fire. Ticking, but they don't move fast. Nothing is built with the intention to last. Yet here we are with the coffee getting cold, counting the days that we haven't yet sold. Your shadow is long on the kitchen floor, a familiar shape by the open door. It is not a fire and it is not flood, just a steady pulse moving through the blood, a slow wheel turning in the back of her mind, leaving the jagged edges far behind. It is the way you stand when the wind gets cold, a simple truth that never grows old. Not a mountain peak or a deep blue sea, just a space you leave in the house for me, a gentle heavy weight that settles in the chest, the kind of kiss that puts the ghost to rest. The dust settles on the old highway map, wild shadows stretch across the kitchen tile. I traded my pride for a worn out leather cap and watch the seasons turn into a pile. You were standing where the garden fence broke, holding a tin cup and a heavy silver key. Every single word that we never quite spoke is still hanging like a ghost in the apple tree. The compass is spinning and the wind starts to roam. The seeds in the pocket are turning to stone. We counted the miles but forgot how to stay, while the sun burned the edges of another long day. Love is a bridge built on shifting red sand, a tangle I held in a trembling hand. It is the anchor that slips when the current gets deep, a promise that neither of us intended to keep. It is a light from a house that no longer sings, a wild heavy breath of a forgotten land. I found your letters in a cedar wood blocks, tied up and twined from a cold northern shore. You wrote about ships and the ticking of clocks, and how you couldn't stand the quiet anymore. I walked past the station where the iron tracks rust, tracing the names that the rain couldn't hide. We built our cathedrals on hollowed out scrub and left all the lanterns burning inside. Then Mercury rises in the river and funds. The struggle to let go is where we begin. We measure the boss by the weight of the sky, by the truth when they sleep in the blink of an eye. Love is a bridge built on shifting red sand, a tangle I held, it's a trembling hand. It is the anchor that slips when the current gets deep, a promise that neither of us intended to keep. It is a light from a house that no longer slings, a wild heavy breath of a forgotten rain. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Love is a bridge built on shifting red sand, a tangle I held in a trembling hand. It is the anchor that slips when the current gets deep, a promise that neither of us intended to keep. It is a light from a house that no longer sings, a wild heavy breath of the forgotten land. Love is a bridge built on shifting red sand, a tangle I have in a trembling hand. It is the anchor that slips when the current gets deep, a promise that neither of us intended to keep. It is a light from a house that no one has seen, a wild heavy breath of the forgotten land. Iron till it scrapes against the stove. Dew still clings to the cuts of ice. Red clay mud stuck in the tractor groove, waiting for the sun to draw a line across the porch where the cane chair creaks. Small talk dies before the coffee peaks. Screen door slams a ribbon knock, magnolia shadows stretch the yard. Old man winds a hallway class. Life is hot but the ground is hard. The creek is swollen from the rain, washing dust off the window pane. The morning holds its breath so slow. Nothing stirs and nothing shows. Waking up to a slow heat rising, cicadas hum in the hickory shade. No use in hurry compromising with the way the heavy light is laid. It's a long road to the cottonwood tree, down where the heat crawls on its knees. Gravel punches under rusted wheels. Dog sleeps by the garden gate. The belly knows what the spirit feels, learning how to sit and wait. The golden haze begins to blur, everything old and everything new for sure. The morning holds its breath so slow. Oh, nothing stirs and nothing shows. Waking up to my slow heat rising, cicadas hum in the hickory shade. No use in hurry compromising with the way the heavy light is laid. stones, painting stripes across the kitchen tiles. I forgot to wind the clock today, but the coffee steams in golden piles. The kettle hums a low vibration, a melody without a single word. I find a penny in my pocket, the sweetest look I ever heard. Walking down the avenue in stride, tip my hat to folks I hardly know. There's a bounce inside my leather shoes, setting fire to the melting snow. The corner breaker waves a flurry hand. The morning air tastes like a fresh bouquet. Every window reflects a grinning face. It's a grinning clumsy holiday. Oh, the world is swinging on a silver thread, sending sugar clouds above my head. I'm dancing with the shadows on the wall, feeling tall enough to never fall. Everything is clicking into play with a velvet touch and easy grace. The sky is wide and open in its arms, shielding us from any distant harm. Oh, the world is swinging on a silver thread, spinning sugar clouds above my head. I'm dancing with the shadows on the wall, feeling tall enough to never fall. Everything is clicking into place with a velvet touch and easy grace. The sky is wide and opening its arms, shielding us from any distant harm. Watch the pigeons play their frantic games. Life is just a bowl of summer fruit with dozens of delightful secret names. I don't need a map to find my way. The gravel crunching is a lovely sound. I'm rich without a nickel in the bank, just by keeping both feet on the ground. Evening tucks the city into bed with a blanket made of violet light. I hear a trumpet from the basement door, chasing at the worries of the night. I'll take the long way home tonight, underneath the hanging paper moon, whistling a tune that has no end, knowing morning's coming back quite soon. Oh, the world is swinging on a silver thread, spinning sugar clouds above my head. I'm dancing with the shadows on the wall, feeling tall enough to never fall. Everything is breaking into place with a velvet touch and easy grace. The sky is wide and opening its arms, shielding us from any distant harm. Oh, the world is swinging on a silver thread, spinning sugar hearts above my head. I'm dancing with the shadows on the wall, feeling tall enough to never fall. Everything is breaking into place with a velvet touch and easy grace. The sky is wide and opening its arms, shielding us from any distant harm. Swinging on a silver thread, spinning sugar clouds above my head. I'm dancing with the shadows on the wall, feeling tall enough to never fall. Everything is clicking into place with a velvet touch and easy grace. The sky is wide and opening its arms, shielding us from any distant harm. The morning kettle hums a silver sound. I watch the dust motes dance in sunlight on the ground. My heavy boots are left beside a creaking door. There's nothing to be said or to win a war. salvation of the hooligan. Let the heavy curtain fall on the noisy street. I am sinking deep into the cotton sheets. The world is spinning, but I'm standing still. Drinking the silence until I fled my field. No mountain to climb, no valley to hide, just a gentle drift on a turning tide. Ooh. Old magazines pile up like autumn leaves. The tea steam rises up in curling vines that breathe. I'm untying every knot the city made, taking back each second that I delay. The telephone is sleeping in its bed. The radio hums a tune with nothing said. Shadows stretch their limbs across the floor. I don't hear the rattling of the locks no more. Just a steady pulse of a lazy afternoon. Let the heavy curtain fall on the noisy street. I am sinking deep into the cotton sheet. The world is spinning, but I'm standing still. Drinking the silence until I've had my fill. No mountain to climb, no valley to hide, just a gentle drift on a turning tide. Maybe the wind is shaking the willow trees. Maybe the clouds are chasing the gray sea. But here the light is filtered through the glass, watching the slow and golden moments pass. Let the heavy curtain fall on the noisy street. I am sinking deep into the cotton sheet. The world is spinning, but I'm standing still. Drinking the silence until I've had my fill. No mountain to climb, no valley to hide, just a gentle shift on a turning tide. Let the heavy curtain fall on the noisy street. I am sinking deep into the cotton sheet. The world is spinning, but I'm standing still. Drinking my silence until I've had my fill. The coffee is a cold burn on the kitchen wood. I am staring at the cracks where the sunlight stood. Your sweater is a ghost hanging by the door. I don't recognize the hollow pattern on the floor. Silence is a heavy weight pressing on my chest, while the dust settles down in our emptiness. The calendar is stuck on a Tuesday in July, when the truth became a shadow in your eyes. Every piece of us is jagged and sharp, tearing through the strings of this tired heart. The ink is bleeding through the final page, a bird forgotten in a gilded cage. It is a slow collapse, a quiet landslide, with nowhere left for the broken to hide. The salt is singing in the open wound, to the sound of a world becoming undone. They told me time would dull the blade, but I am shivering here in the cooling shade. Bricks are falling from the garden wall. I box of old receipts among the ghosts of our crowded city streets. The clock is ticking, but the hands don't move. Trapped in the velvet of a worn-out groove. I try to breathe, but the air is thin and dry. Watching the vultures circle in the sky. The bed is a desert where I lie awake, counting the promises we managed to break. The mirror shows a face I barely know, wrapped in the wreckage of a long ago. The walls are closing in to touch my skin, letting the cold December crawl right in. Ooh, every piece of us is jagged and sharp, tearing through the strings of this tired heart. The ink is bleeding through the final page. A bird forgotten in a gilded cage. It is a slow collapse, a quiet landslide, with nowhere left for the broken to hide. The salt is stinging in the open wound, to the sound of a world becoming untuned. Every piece of us is jagged and sharp, tearing through the strings of this tired heart. The ink is bleeding through the final page. A bird forgotten in a gilded cage. It is a slow collapse, a quiet landslide, with nowhere left for the broken to hide. The salt is stinging in the open wound, to the sound of a world becoming untuned. The morning coffee burns a hole through the fog. I trace the gravity of your name in the steam, a constellation hidden in the mundane, the heavy lifting of a quiet grace. No thunderclaps or capes in the wind, just the way you anchor the drifting tide. You navigate the crowded street, a blueprint of kindness in a concrete maze. You don't demand the spotlight's clever, the shadows retreat when you arrive. It is a silent power under the skin, a steady hum beneath the sitting noise. Super in my heart, where the secrets reside, beyond the reach of the hollow sky. The kind of strength that doesn't need to shout. You turn the gray into a vivid light, the only hero in this fragile frame. Super in my heart through the coldest days. They look for miracles in the clouds above, scaling mountains for a glimpse of the road. But I found a peek in your open hands, in the simple truth of staying true. No armor needed for this gentle soul, only the courage to remain soft. Of the long week, the world is sharp, but your touch is smooth. You pull the splinters from my tired mind without a single word of grand design. It is a secret language we both speak, a sanctuary built on steady ground. The clocks keep ticking, the metal beat, but time bends around the space you fill. You are the oxygen in the thin air, a solid logic in a frantic train. Not a mythic figure in an old book, but the pulse that keeps my spirit warm. Super in my heart, where the secrets reside, beyond the reach of the hollow sky. The kind of strength that doesn't need to shout. You turn the game to a vivid light, the only hero in that fragile frame. Super in my heart through the coldest days. Super in my heart. of the hollow sky, the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout. You turn the brain to a vivid life, the only hero in this fragile frame. Super in my heart through the coldest days. Super in my heart through the coldest days. Hey, hey, hey. Checking into the lobby of the Grand Hotel. The revolving door spins like a gilded frame. I left my luggage and a heavy heart outside, across the pond where the muddy currents glide. The velvet carpet swallows up the sound of shoes, tracing the patterns of a local river blues. Beyond the pain, the skyline starts to glow. Watching the pulse of the traffic down below. The concierge knows a secret he won't tell about the ghosts who lived inside this limestone shell. A gramophone scratches in a room down the hall, faint echoes of a vanished evening ball. I find a seat where the wicker chairs are lined, leaving the noise of the busy streets behind. The scent of jasmine floating through the air, mixing with smoke and a sense of deep despair. All the towel dance against the heavy humid haze, lost in the center of a winding urban maze. From the high window where the iron eagles rest, I see the sun sinking slowly in the west. Everything changes in the flicker of a light, into the belly of the coming restless night. Stay for a moment while the world begins to spin. This is a place where the sylvan dreams begin. All the towel stands against the heavy humid haze, lost in the center of a winding urban maze. From the high window where the iron eagles rest, I see the sun sinking slowly in the west. Everything changes in the flicker of a light, into the belly of the coming restless night. Stay for a moment while the world begins to spin. This is a place where the silver dreams begin. Walk in the garden where the stone lanterns stay, frozen in time since the decades slipped away. A merchant prince and a lady clad in silk, skin like the surface of the morning glass and milk. They traded futures for a ticket to the sea. Now there is nothing but the dust and memory. I buy a paper just to see the date is wrong, singing the verse of an ancient tavern song. The ferry whistles as it leaves the northern pier, cutting a path through the shadows and the face. Seen on the mirror in the street of light and gold, stories of hunger and of riches yet untold. The moon is rising like a coin above the roof, searching for something that can offer final proof. I pull the curtain on the harbor and the queens, listening closely to the rattling window pane. All the towers stands against the heavy humid lace, lost in the center of a winding urban maze. On the high window where the iron eagles rest, I see the sun sinking slowly in the west. They're shaking, changing in the flicker of a light, into the belly of the coming restless night. There for a moment while the world begins to stir. This is the cloak where the silver dreams begin. All the towers stands against the heavy humid lace, lost in the center of a winding urban maze. On the high window where the iron eagles rest, I see the sun sinking slowly in the west. Everything changes in the flicker of a light, into the belly of the coming restless night. Stay for a moment while the world begins to spin. This is the cloak where the silver dreams begin. Yes, they the silver dreams begin. The blind is shivering under a velvet sheet, gas lamps flickering on the charcoal street. I walk from the docks where the sirens moan, a shadow in search of a heart alone. with secrets and still built on a foundation of silver and gilt. I saw your reflection, a puddle of gin, where the boost of a violin starts to begin. Shanghai blue is a permanent stain, falling like soot in the mid-autumn rain. It is the color of a midnight sky, in the hollow space of a long goodbye. Not quite the ocean and not quite the slate, just a heavy hue of a lingering fate. Shanghai blue is the shade of the soul, when the pieces no longer make up the whole. The clock on the custom house tolls for the lost, counting the years and the blood they have cost. They sell immortality in a porcelain cup, while the skyscrapers swallow the mercury up. Don't ask for the sunrise to settle the dead. The moon is a coin that hasn't dropped yet. Old men are playing the games in the park, chasing the crickets through the thickening dark. The trolley wires hiss like a basket of snakes as the city trembles and the pavement quakes. You stood in the doorway with a silk-lined coat, with a lump of coal caught deep in your throat. The flavor of jasmine is bitter and cold in a town that gets younger as we grow old. Whoa. Shanghai blue is a permanent stain, falling like soot in the mid-autumn rain. It is the color of the midnight sky, in the hollow space of a long goodbye. Not quite the ocean and not quite the slate, just a heavy hue of a lingering fate. Shanghai blue is the shade of my soul, when the pieces no longer make up the whole. Shanghai blue is a permanent stain, falling like soot in the mid-autumn rain. It is the color of the midnight sky, the hollow space of a long goodbye. Not like the ocean and not quite the slate, just a heavy hue of a lingering fate. Shanghai blue is the shade of a soul, when the pieces no longer make up the whole. The morning paper scattered on the porch, like fallen feathers from a frozen bird. I watched you sign away the garden fence and trade the copper locks for one last word. You handed me the title and the ink, a heavy promise made of hope and bone. Then walked toward the horizon's jagged edge, to find a kingdom you could call your own. The ink is dry upon the jagged line, the boundary between your heart and mine. A simple script to settle every day for a piece we hadn't managed to find. Yeah, you deeded me the dusk and the divide, the hollow spaces where the swallows hide, a legacy of silence in the hall, the bitter shadow leaning on the wall. You left the keys, but I took the swinging door, and now the sky belongs to me once more. The attic holds the ghost of every choice. The cedar chest is filled with velvet rust. I traced the lines upon a weather map to find a lights in my heart. The bitter shadow leaning on the wall. You left the key, but put the spring in your. And now the sky belongs to me once more. Yeah. I watch the dust dance in the fading light, trace the outlines of a sleepless night. You hold your breath like a secret told, a story carved in skin, but growing cold. The tea goes cold between our waiting palms, while the outside world has lost its charms. I don't need a monument or a vow, I need the metal of his here and now. The floorboards creep beneath the weight we bear, a winter long breeze out the frozen air. You look at me through a window pane crack, seeing the harvest but fearing the attack. Confess the heavy truth that keeps you awake. Surrender every shadow for my sake. Don't let the silence build a fortress wall. Admit you're waiting for the southern fall. Tell me you love me before the sun you came. The law on all your hidden ways. Your coat is hung by the splintered door, ready to wander like a ghost once more. But the anchor's buried in the garden mud, and the hunger pulses in the crimson flood. The floorboards creep beneath the weight we bear, a winter long breeze out the frozen air. You look at me through a window pane crack, seeing the harvest but fearing the attack. Confess the heavy truth that keeps you awake. Surrender every shadow for my sake. Don't let the silence build the fortress wall. Admit you're waiting for the sudden fall. Tell me you love me before the sun decays. The light on all your hidden ways. No hollow vow beneath the marble sky, just the wrong beating truth before we die. Before the colors fade and turn to gray, give me the words you never dare to say. Come back to every truth that leads you away. Surrender every shadow for my sake. Don't let the silence build a treacherous wall. Admit you're waiting for the sudden fall. Tell me you love me before the sun decays. The light on all your hidden Come back to every truth that keeps you awake. Surrender every shadow for my sake. Don't let the silence build a fortress wall. Admit you're waiting for the sudden fall. Tell me you love me before the sun decays.